Hey everyone, and welcome. So, you're ready to jump into Flutter, huh? Awesome. You are in exactly the right spot. Today, we're going to get our hands dirty with the absolute fundamentals. I'm talking about the core building blocks of pretty much any Flutter app you'll ever build. Your first 6 essential widgets. Trust me, by the end of this, you're going to see exactly how Flutter takes a few lines of code and turns them into something real, something you can actually see and interact with. Sound good? All right, let's get into it. So, here's the game plan. First, we'll tackle the big idea behind Flutter, what makes it tick. Then, we'll dive into the widgets you use to actually show stuff on the screen, and then the ones you use to arrange everything neatly. After that, we'll look at the main skeleton of an app screen. And to wrap it all up, we're going to combine everything we've learned to build a simple little layout. It's a straight shot from zero to building your first UI. All right, first things first. If there is one single concept you need to burn into your brain about Flutter, it's this. In Flutter, everything is a widget. Seriously, that button you tap, it's a widget. The text you're reading, a widget. The empty space around the text, yep, that's a widget too. The whole screen, the whole app, it's just widgets inside of other widgets. It's widgets all the way down. And you know what that feels like? It feels like building with Legos. I mean, think about it, right? You've got all these different bricks. The little red ones, the long blue ones, the clear ones for windows. You don't build a castle by melting down plastic. You just snap the bricks together. That is exactly how you build an app in Flutter. You take these pre-made widgets and you just snap them together, one inside the other, to create your masterpiece. Okay, so let's get just a tiny bit technical for a second. The official definition says a widget is an immutable description. Whoa, scary words, right? Don't worry. All that means is that a widget is a blueprint. It's not the thing itself, it's the instructions for building the thing. It tells Flutter, hey, I want a piece of text right here and it should say this and be this color. It's the recipe, not the cake. It's the fundamental atom of your UI. Okay, enough theory. Let's get to the fun part. We're going to start with the widgets that actually put stuff on the screen for people to see. You know, the basics, words and pictures. And first on our list is the text widget. No surprises here, it does exactly what you think it does. It is your digital label. Anytime you need to slap some words onto the screen, this is your go-to tool. Super simple, super essential. And check out how easy this is. Seriously, look at the code on the left. Text, and then in parentheses, the words you want to show. That's it. It's a direct command. You're telling Flutter, make me a text widget, and have it say hello Flutter. And boom, on the right, you see the result. Flutter just takes that blueprint and builds it. So cool. All right, next up is the image widget. And the best way to think about this one is it's a picture frame. Its whole job is to display a picture. But, you know, a frame is pretty useless without a photo in it, right? It's the same deal here. The image widget needs to be told which picture to show. So, how do we give it a picture? Well, one of the most common ways is what you see here. The code says image.asset. Asset is just a fancy word for a file that you've bundled with your app. So this line is literally saying, hey Flutter, I need an image. Go look in my assets folder, find the file named logo.png, and display it right here. You give it the path, and it does all the heavy lifting. Okay, awesome. So we can now put text and images on the screen. But right now, they'd just be a jumbled mess. How do we actually arrange them? How do we put things where we want them to go? Well, that's where layout widgets come into play. These are kind of like the invisible widgets. They don't show anything themselves, but their whole job is to control and organize all the other widgets. And let me introduce you to one of the most useful widgets in your entire toolkit, the container. The best way to think of a container is just as a box. It's a simple, empty box. You can put one and only one other widget inside it. But here's the cool part. You can decorate that box however you want. You can paint it a different color, you can add some empty space, what we call padding, inside it, or you can draw a border around it. It's your all-purpose styling tool. Let's look at a real example. See this? We have a text widget that says inside, but we've wrapped it in a container. And look what we did to the container. We gave it a color of blue, we gave it some padding, that's the empty space of 16 pixels all around, and we told it that its child, the thing inside the box, is our text widget. So the container isn't visible on its own, but it totally changes how its child looks. Super powerful stuff. Okay, but what if you have more than one thing to arrange? A container can only hold one child. Well, for that, we have row. If you want to line things up side by side, like books on a shelf, you use a row. It's that simple. It takes a bunch of widgets and arranges them in a horizontal line. And here's how you do it. Notice the code here is a little different. Instead of a child, a row has children, plural, and you give it a list of widgets. You can spot the list because of the square brackets. So here, we're giving it a list with 3 text widgets, A, B, and C. And what does Flutter do? It just lays them out in a row. Easy peasy. So if row handles side to side, what about up and down? You guessed it, that's what column is for. If a row is like books on a shelf, a column is like a stack of books, one right on top of the other. It's the vertical version of a row. And here's the best part. Look at the code. It is almost identical to the row code. The only thing that changed is the name of the widget itself. We're still using children, we're still passing it a list inside square brackets. But just by swapping the word row for column, we completely change the layout from horizontal to vertical. That's how consistent Flutter is. Okay, we have one last individual widget to cover. And this one is a big deal. You are going to use this widget on pretty much every single screen you ever build in Flutter. It's the foundation, the basic structure for a whole page. And it's called the scaffold. I want you to think of scaffold as a pre-built template for a mobile app screen. You know how most apps have that bar at the top with the title and then the main content area below it? Well, Scaffold gives you that basic layout for free. It saves you from having to build all that common stuff from scratch every single time. A scaffold basically comes with a bunch of helpful named slots that you can just plug your own widgets into. The most common ones are the app bar, that's the slot for the bar at the very top. Then there's the body, that's the main big area in the middle where all your stuff goes. And it even has a slot for a floating action button. You know, that big round button that kind of hovers over the content in the corner. You just tell the scaffold what to put in each slot, and it handles the rest. All right, enough talk. We've learned the individual pieces. Now for the grand finale, let's put all of this together. We're going to take all 6 of these widgets we just talked about, and just like with Legos, we're going to snap them together to build a real, if simple, screen layout. So let's think this through step by step. Okay, number 1, we need a screen, a foundation. So we start with a scaffold. Easy. 2, in the main content area, we want to stack things vertically. What do we use for that? A column, of course. So we'll put that in the body of our scaffold. 3, what's the first thing in our stack? Let's say it's an image. 4, below the image, we want some text, but we also want a nice background color and some spacing. That sounds like a job for a container. 5, inside that container, we want 2 pieces of text next to each other. So we'll use a row. And finally, 6, what goes inside the row? 2 simple text widgets. You see how it all nests together? Each widget has a clear purpose. And voila, here it is. On the left is the actual code that implements that exact logic we just walked through. You can literally see the nesting, the scaffold holding the column, which holds the image, and the container, which holds the row, which holds the 2 text widgets. And on the right, that's what Flutter builds from those instructions, a perfectly structured little profile screen. It's not just a bunch of code, it's a visual blueprint that comes to life. And that's it. Text, image, container, row, column, and scaffold. I'm not kidding, with just these 6 widgets, you have the cornerstones for building almost any user interface in Flutter. You now have the fundamental building blocks. So the only real question is, what are you going to build with them first?